Lori and Becky with NB Home Gals in Remax River City, and today we are talking to you about the appraisal.
Dun 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 dun.
Yes, that can often be a very scary topic.
It can. So, who does the appraiser work for? Well, they're an independent party. They do go through training and guidelines for the lenders they work for, and there's special appraisers for VA and FHA. Those are government-backed loans. But typically, they're hands-off. Like, we don't have communication with them. They kind of write their own rules in that, I guess. There's like a virtual job board, right? And they say, here are the appraisals that are needed.
Right.
These homes are under,
So they don't know what home they're getting. They're kind of pulling those, and it's the luck of the draw kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they don't know.
They call the listing
Right.
agent, or they say, hey, we're going to come do the appraisal. So they come and they measure, sometimes just around the perimeter, just depends. I like to start with this. What is a home worth?
What someone's willing to pay for it.
Exactly. So someone could be willing to see could see extreme value in a property,
right,
that you do, and you're just waiting for that perfect buyer. But our job is to think like the appraiser, because if there's any financing tied to the sale of that home, it has to meet appraisal, which means it needs to be at value or higher for the agreed sales price.
Right, and they're going to take like comps as near to what the subject property is that you're buying,
Which can be tricky.
Right, if it's something that's completely custom with all of these unique features, it is going to be a little bit trickier to find comps for that. If you're in a neighborhood with the same repetitive floor plan every so often, not as much. So they've got their rules and guidelines that they follow to find those comps. And overall, they do a pretty good job. I mean, there are times that we make value and sometimes we don't. And us as your agents can help walk through both of those scenarios. So if you get that and it comes back and, oh my gosh, that home didn't make appraisal, we've got it covered.
And we even have ways that we can write it up from the very beginning, because the appraisal is kind of towards the end of the process. Like, you're packing up your stuff.
Right.
And it's a little bit later in the process, and that we can write it up to say kind of up front, we're not willing to pay more than X. We don't care what the appraisal says, so that everyone knows in the beginning.
Because this is what value that you're willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't come in at that, then then obviously we don't have to move
And of course, we want you to get the house.
Right.
And we don't want.
But we also want you to be protected. I mean, we don't want there to be all of these gray areas that we're stuck in, that kind of thing. So rely on your experts to help navigate you through those waters.
Right. So you'll hear us talk about we want to meet appraisal, and as a listing or buyer's agent, we have to think like an appraiser. And an appraiser, do they care about like fabulous gold toilets?
They don't. They're not going to care that the wood was custom made by elephants in some country in Flanders. They don't care. They don't care. To them, a wood floor is a wood floor. So take that into consideration too when you're
doing upgrades in your house.
Right.
Like,
think about those things if you're going to get that
great Italian marble that
you love.
That's awesome. Knock your socks off.
Right.
But you getting that back
Often
in the appraisal?
Right.
No. Now a buyer could see the same value and say, we don't care. We'll pay the difference, or we're cash.
Right.
Those are all things to consider. So
good things.
We always feel like once we meet appraisal, that's like there's like one more hurdle to go, clear to close, which we'll talk about soon. But it's always a good day when we can say we met appraisal.